Hi there, welcome to the cloud. Let's play some Disney Sorcerer's Arena. I will see you over there. Hi there and welcome back to part 2 of Spells and Potions. Hopefully you enjoyed the first video yesterday and got some use out of the free chart that's been going around on the Discord servers. Amazingly, this is how things work with that community. Even since yesterday, there's been an update to that chart. Let me just go grab that here for you. As you can see, Duke Kaboom has been promoted to fast charging, so there's a quick change there. Just be aware that all of these things between reworks and just general community feedback can always change at a moment's notice, but be sure that I will always keep you guys updated. And if you are subscribed to the channel, then you will catch all that information and never miss a thing. Also, if you liked this and any of the other videos, whether it's about the spells or any of the events we've been doing lately, be sure to give us a like. It really helps the channel and I would appreciate the support. So let's move quickly on today to what we are here for, which I promised yesterday, and that is this. The actual spell tiers list. So we rank them by speed in terms of how quick the magic generates for the spells, and now we're going to tell you which of these spells are actually any good. And this is all from community feedback from beta players and players in the pre-testing who have been playing for over a year. So big shout out to all the Disney Titans on the official and the community Discord servers. I will link all of those below, so go check all of those guys out for more detailed information. But we're going to give you a nice little overview and really get into at least some of these top tier spells up here and then show you the ranking for the rest of them. So just let me get this teaser out the way because we are going to go for real into the actual tier list. So here we go. So here you can see at the bottom, we're going to call these the poor ones, or the C tier, which is going to be the lowest ranking kind of spells. And as you can see, it's possibly things you've not even come across because some of them are not that easy to access early on, and none of these are really common spells that you're going to use. You will find the Headless Horseman. He is accessible in the first tower of the endurance events, and you will get him as an unlock when you complete that tower, and you will also get Peter Pan's Shadow as an unlock when you complete Tower 3, I believe it is. So there are other ways to get these, but those are the most common for those. Also, as I guess an honorable mention, even though this is the bottom tier, I have noticed that in my tournament shard, there was quite a few people using Peter Pan in conjunction with people like Facilier and possibly the Golden Hammer, which you'll see a little bit later on. Between having extra versions of your characters popping up, giving extra targets and things that you have to clear, even though it's a slow, note this one's a medium generating spell, it still, happens enough where that can be annoying if you don't have enough DPS to take care of a team fast enough and you have all these guys constantly popping up on you. So that's an honorable mention from this tier. The rest of them, not great. Headless Horseman is not too bad, but like I said, most of these you'll probably not come across or even have use for at almost any stage of the game, even as a beginner, although you'll probably get a bit of fun out of them in terms of endgame content, which is pretty much the perspective we're looking at these spells here today. These are going to be some that you will need to rank up the spells to their next tier levels, so not just the default, because a lot of these spells will have greater and more useful effects as you level them up. So that is the bottom tier there. And if we move straight on now to the B tier here, so these are kind of like your mid-range spells. A lot of them can be common. The most common you're obviously going to be able to have is this Magic Meteor here, which is a slow generating spell, but it's one of the default spells you get with when you start the game. Also, you've got Trigger's Tower here, which I always call the buzzard here in my videos. He's accessible because he's basically given out when you complete your club dungeon. He's the reward for that, and even though they're only deemed as chances of and they're not guaranteed drops, you will almost always certainly get a good amount of those. If I can just demonstrate that to you, let's just hop back over to my arena here and check this out over here. Club dungeon, you will get a lot of these trigger tower tokens here, and also now they've added these infinity dice, but I mean that's not something you want to be too concerned about, seeing as those were a tier C spell as we just saw. But not too long in the game and I've already managed to unlock enough of these. Indeed, my last round, and if I claim those and we head on back to my spell collection, which is in collection, not in the store, over here you'll see I'll be able to level my triggers tower along with these materials. I can upgrade that to level 3, and as you can see, as I was saying, these level up here. So the first level is obviously you unlock the spell. This is what you're going to achieve from the spell, and all its effects will be over here in the description. Level 2 for Triggers Tower, you got another 25% chance for each attack to inflict a continuous damage for 2 turns, which is a really good debuff within matches. And now level 3, I'm going to get another 20% damage dealt. So depending on the spells that you use for your main team and how you're finding your PvP, you're going to decide on which of these that you want to upgrade. As you can see, I've burned a lot of my materials here upgrading Triggers Tower to 3 because it's something I use a lot in a lot of game modes, and you will probably find your own mileage varies, but decide for yourself, maybe based on some of this information you're getting here today, and then upgrade accordingly. So let's get back to the tiers. Okay, there we go. And so those are the 2 main ones you're probably going to see, is this Magic Meteor and Triggers Tower, our buzzard friend here. Peanut Pummel, Dumbo, again, not something I've seen a lot of, and this Mortal Potion. You slowly get a few of these out of packs and dailies and stuff like that. They'll pop up occasionally. But again, not many people that I've seen have been using these spells. I don't think I've seen anyone use Zap at all. So the main ones you want to be paying attention to here in the B tier is going to be Magic Meteor, because that's your default spell, and Triggers Tower or the buzzard because he's very easy to get and level up. And the honorable mention here in the B tier is going to be these Thunder Mountain Dynamite explosions. They're a pretty good spell in terms of dealing some mass AoE damage to another team. Once you trigger the spell, it just puts this dynamite that has various different effects, but the default for this one on the initial level is going to be to just inflict a lot of damage. So honorable mention in B tier goes to Thunder Mountain Dynamite. So moving on, I'm sure you're all very keen to see what is in the A tier. So here we go. Our good old favorite here, Duke Kaboom, and then you've also got another Disney ride based spell, which is the Splash Mountain Boom, and you've got the Claw from Toy Story, and another Toy Story spell here from Toy Story 4 it's known as in the game as Wild Imagination. It's that dream sequence at the end where the chick and the bunny are imagining taking out their revenge. So they will laser beam eyes their opponents, or your opponents in this case, and do a lot of damage. And I think what we'll do then is we'll do a little more focus on these A, and there is one more tier. A is not the top tier. We're calling it S tier, whether that's super or whatever you want to call it. It's just the way the community have ended up labeling things. So we have, let's just have a quick review here. We've got the C tier, which is our lowest. We've got B, we've got A, and we will give you a quick sneak peek into the S there. We'll get around to that in a minute, but let's dive in and do a little focus on some of these, because these are the ones you're going to be wanting to focus on. This is the question that everyone's been asking in the community Discord and the official Discords of what spell should I go to, which ones are best. Well, these are some of the best that are going to be easily accessible to you. Duke Kaboom, reasonably easy to get, especially when the Toy Story events come around. They give away quite a few tokens for that. It hasn't come around yet since Global, but I'm sure it'll be one of the next ones up. And then the rest of them, same with the Wild Imagination over here. They're gonna need to be event gained spells, so it's a long-term thing. You're going to be wanting to focus on these. The easiest, most accessible out of the A tier is probably going to be Duke Kaboom. He's in places in the game that you can find him right now, and the most obvious place to find him is going to be this Tower of Endurance store. So let's hop over there real quick just so I can show you that. And let's get over to the the exchange store, and it will be here, the Tower Exchange, which is why you want to be doing your daily towers. As you can see, the low level spells are mostly going to be in here, as well as the materials to level them up. But of the ones that are up in the A tier, like I said, Duke Kaboom is the only really easily accessible spell of the high tiered spells for you to get to. Now you can buy them individually here. You would definitely get those tokens, but best bang for your buck in terms of the currency, if you're not clearing much of the tower at first, then you're gonna want to open these spell packs here, because the spell packs are way better value in terms of how many tokens per Tower Exchange currency that you will get. But as you can see, it's a random pull. That is the only downside to this, but you will be able to get things like Trigger's Tower and Duke Kaboom out of this. Also Thunder Mountain Boom, which is one of the better spells out of the B tier. You can get those tokens early on without having to wait for events or special end game content that you might not be able to access as a newer starting out player. So again, just to quickly recap, things like Thunder Mountain Boom, not too bad, but you will be paying more for these if you want to target them specifically, and if you can afford those and that's what you're aiming for, then go straight for them. If not, and you have time to build, then I really advise going for these packs, because you will give yourself the chance to build up more of a spell library. But do try and focus on the ones that you are going to be using most likely in the end game. So let's get back to the end game here. So Duke Kaboom is a great spell, mostly because it's an AoE damage, and apart from just the AoE damage, he inflicts vulnerable on opponents. So that guarantees your next strike on that opponent to be a critical strike, which can be very helpful in terms of taking down teams and your DPS rate. And Wild Imagination is one of those ones you're gonna have to get up a couple levels to really get the most value out of. But the initial debuff that Wild Imagination will put on is Heal Block, which is not the biggest deal in the world, because later on in endgame, healers are kind of irrelevant. The best heal you can do just barely enough healing to cover a basic attack at that kind of level. So on level 2 of this spell, you will also be dealing continuous damage, which is where this spell really comes into its own. But apart from that, is it a mass AoE damaging spell as well, as we went over before. Bunny and Chick will laser beam eye the entire opposing team, as well as putting on all those debuffs. And towards the top of my tournament, that's been a very devastating spell to come up against, especially if you have the team to back it up as well, in conjunction with some of the other spells that we're going to have a look at on the S tier. And then the Claw, again, because it's an event kind of spell to access, not a lot of people have this. I haven't really seen it personally, but from what the community tells me and the Disney Titans, it's obviously a medium generating spell, so it's not slow, but it's not fast either. But the main thing is it does good damage, and it is one of the only attacks in the game that will ignore evasion. And evasion could be very irritating, especially if some people putting together an evasion meta kind of team. then this will remove that buff first before it then goes and applies its damage effects. So a great spell in that sense, but not particularly accessible. So I know I keep teasing this S tier, but this video is going a little long and we have nothing but time here at the moment, the way the world is. So I think what I'll do is I will wrap it up there for today, and we will come back and figure out exactly what is left in the S tier. Actually, you know what? You'll probably be able to figure it out from the fact that you can see what's in the other tiers. I will show you those S tier spells today, and we will come back tomorrow and have a better in-depth look at what each of those do. So let's go ahead and have a quick look now at this S tier. So as you can see, I've elevated these two at the top here because they are mostly regarded as the best spells in the game. Obviously, it's going to depend on your opponents and your team comps, but in general, the main thing that is going to determine whether a spell is good or not, or any characters are good or not, is speed. In any of these kind of games, speed is always a determining factor, because if you can move first, you can control the course of your battle. You can get either debuffs out first and slow the other team down and then control them, what we call crowd control. There's many different characters that do that, but there's also spells that do that, and this is why these rank so highly. So blue fairy magic, which is this wand up here, and then you've got this Iago spell, which is known as foul play. That's a great spell because that actually strips debuffs and then applies them to your own team, so it's like stealing the debuffs away. And then we've got bucket of soldiers, which is basically they're just there for a ton of damage, and then the golden hammer, which at higher levels is also a speed meter manipulating spell, but also a resurrecting spell, can bring back a character from the dead. So that's a quick overview of S tier. We'll come back tomorrow and we'll have a really better deep dive into the ins and out of those spells. But for now, today, I hope you found this useful and that you come back tomorrow and check out part, I guess, 3 now, and I will see you then next time your head is in the clouds.